Haitian household that did not believe in therapy was quite the difficult thing. When I first started going to therapy, there was a lot of things that I had to learn to undo. One of the things that the Lord really made certain that if I am to go forward in my life, I had to learn to forgive my parents. It doesn't matter what they did. It doesn't matter how harshly they've treated me. God the Holy Spirit made me understand this probably in the beginning of my mental health journey. When I forgive, there's a shackle that I am going to be free from when I forgive them. There was a time that I was in my room when I was in taking coursework in grad school in New York. I was reading my Bible. I wasn't even reading anything about forgiving my parents, and that's the part that I knew it was God. I'll do a separate video on how you can do like a process of elimination to understanding what is God and what is not. But anyway, that's besides the point. I was sitting in my room and I just suddenly felt uh, a knowing that I can only describe as the judgment of God. It was awesome, and awesome not in a positive way. It was full of awe. I felt the hard hand of God in that word when He told me that He chose my parents to come together because there were things that He wanted to be passed on to me and into the world. They were in the same way that there are bad things that have been passed on to us because of our parents is the same way that God chose your parents to come together to put the good things on the inside of you. The bad parts is the Holy Spirit's work to take out of you. And it is your job to be obedient to Holy Spirit when He is doing that surgical work on the inside. But I remember He was saying, first of all, He was defending His daughter, which was my mother. And He said, she's my daughter. You have no right to be offended towards her. You have no right to curse her or say anything against her. She's my daughter and she is my business. I was like, all right, God, say less. Say less. Who am I to fall? I don't want to fall in the hands of the living God. And at that point, the fear of the Lord was very strong in that moment because I did not want to fall in the hands of a living God. You could have all these enemies. You could have the devil, principalities, and powers coming against you. But ain't nothing like being in the hands of the living God because you transgress against what He said or what He wants you to do. That's a smoke that I will never wish to have. So when He spoke about my mother, prior to that, I remember telling somebody, either my sister or someone, that just because the relationship between me and my mother was so fragmented and frayed, that I told myself an inner vow that I don't care how many kids that I have, the kids that I have will never meet their grandmother. She won't babysit them, she won't look at them. Like, I don't want any encounter of my kids with them. In the same, like, I literally had the audacity to use the Bible in that in that situation. I said, in the same way that the generation of 40 years died in the wilderness and the generation that followed went into the promised land, is the same way that the generation before me, which is my mother, will not meet my children. Because I just That's how deep I didn't want the toxicity to cross over to my kids. And the Lord corrected me in that moment, and he dealt with me hard. He didn't have to do anything to me. He just told me, and I was like, say less, fam. Say less, Lord. And that's when I knew that I was in the place to really be healed. Because a lot of the times, and someone needs to hear this today, a lot of what you're going through is because you haven't made amends or forgiven your parents. You're going through a loop. You're it's like you're in the act of unforgiveness. You are chaining yourself, quite frankly, shackling yourself to their past mistakes and their old ways of doing things because you judge them. There's a way in the Bible where it says that don't think yourself highly or higher than you ought to, lest you fall in the same sin. That's the same principle. That is a spiritual law, by the way, if you don't really understand it. I believe it's Galatians chapter 5, verse 1. If you don't understand that, 5 verse 1 and 2, if you don't understand that, you will fall into so many unnecessary traps because as a person that did not forgive or thought yourself to be better, you're shackling yourself to the sin and dooming and and sentencing yourself to a loop of sin because you did not forgive. So there is that. When I forgave my mother, I gave it to God in that moment. I said, Lord, I forgive my mom. It hurts. I'm not going to admit I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt. Obviously it hurts, but you know best. And I really just surrender this unforgiveness to you because I know it's you that works on the hearts of men. You, Holy Spirit, are the one that works on the hearts of men. I can't do it myself. I make the decision to forgive, and I give you the part that works on the heart. And so it took some time. It was November of 2019, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, November of 2019. So it was about a year into the breakup because I broke up with my boyfriend at the time, October of 2018. November 2019, he gave me a good little fivefold ministry slap. And January of 2020, my mother and I repaired our relationship. I'm not saying that it's perfect, and it is a happily ever after because relationships do take work. But forgiving your parents is so important. Because I was able to forgive my mom, me and my mom can have a relationship where we can talk through things or I can ask her questions and I don't have to be in a position where I am in loops, in cycles. And what I mean by loops, I mean like if you're not careful, you are repeating same cycles of things of women or men in your family before you. So one thing that I've noticed in my family was that the women didn't do marriage well. They did not do marriage well. It was either it was divorce or abuse that preceded divorce, or if they're in a marriage, it gets physical in that the men want to hit them or they want to hit the men. Like it just wasn't done well. And I had purposed in my heart that I do not want to repeat that because I know it was a God desire for me to want a healthy marriage, all to the glory of God. So if you're out there and you have a frayed relationship with your parents, sometimes like for example, me and my mom have a great relationship. Me and my father do not. And it's not for lack of trying. I've tried to reach out to my dad. I've written letters. I have given pictures. of my marriage, all the things. He didn't come to my after my graduation in 2015, my college, my undergrad graduation. I did not hear from him at all until maybe 2021, I think. Or was it 2022? Either way, yes, it was until 2022. So I hadn't seen him in like 7 years. And then our relationship is still at a place where we're not talking. So I continue as God leads me to pray for him, I will. But I know on my end, I did what I was supposed to do as an obedient servant of the Lord to make sure that he understood that I don't hold anything against him. So whatever my father is experiencing is not me. And I made sure the Lord knows that. And I'm sure the Lord knows that because he sees everything. But anyway, all that to say, if you're in a place where you're beginning your journey of healing, one of the very first things you have to do is forgive your parents. I've seen it time and time again that people are in cycles or crazy similar patterns to those before them because they didn't forgive, and then they're just repeating and repeating and repeating. And you cannot get into Egypt, you cannot get into your promised land until Egypt is out of you, or lest you are doomed to repeat the patterns that you've had in Egypt. So I will see you in the next video, and comment on what parts of my journey you want to hear. I will continue to post videos, but I would just love to hear your feedback. And yeah, see you in the next video. Hey y'all. First of all, thank you so much for coming to this channel and listening to my video. I am grateful that you're here. If you would like to stay updated on other videos that I'll be posting, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you believe that someone else can benefit from it, please share the video. And follow me on socials at @DaniJ on Instagram, and visit my website signeddanij.com, and you can be connected to all the digital resources and stay connected to our community, Signed Danny J community, and the newsletter, so that you can be up to date and up to speed on the new things that I'll be creating and the new videos that I post. Until next time, peace.